Primus amor. Amo, amas, amat. Amamus, amatis, amant. Conjugating in the Latin, I love. I am at 6 a.m. starting to write my story to be presented in a few hours' time. I start with a rudimentary approach to the conquering language of the Roman Empire and on a subject about something as elementary as an extreme first love passion. At a time in my life and on the world stage when passions tended to be extreme. We were in the throes of the Second World War. And this story is about my love for milk, or maybe I am drawn to milk substitutes. Drinking milk is sometimes described as quenching one's thirst at the wellhead of the fountain of youth. At other times as a blessing for weedy, malnourished, marasmus infants. The Queen of Sheba, it is reputed, liked to bathe in donkey's milk. It was her favorite emollient. Made her skin look young, fresh, and beautiful, to be admired by Solomon. But my passion for milk, I suspect, commenced during the time of crisis. World War II upended the supply chain long before COVID, and trade was magically disrupted by the shenanigans of a brutal war. The colonial outposts of the British Empire were not immune from the consequences of this disaster because of their dependence for important life support mechanisms on the mother country. The cherubic infant that was me as a babe was born in 1939 and was therefore extremely vulnerable. Because we lived under the protective umbrella of a rural hospital, we had access to relief that escaped bombings at sea and travelled all the way from the United Kingdom to the village of Alexandra in the garden parish of St. Anne. Mixed with water, Cowangate served in a feeding bottle with nipples was fine. But actually, when I was a bit older, it was the delight of my life to taste the powdered crystals of the milk formula with the added proteins and vitamins. It was simply delicious and mouth-watering, and it was diverted from a younger sibling to my palate. And I was enamored with the additional joy of corrupting the main purpose, sometimes when my sister's nurse was not looking on. The recognition of when this love affair started did not occur until my adulthood. I was then in London, and it was 1962, a momentous year for all sorts of reasons. But the understanding of my fascination with Cowangate and its power when it held my absolute attention could be described as my first love. I was in the Finchley Cinema House, close to my lodgings with a middle-aged British couple who were friends of mine, Mr. and Mrs. Croft. Anita Ekberg was a voluptuous actress with exaggerated mammalian glands, and she starred in the film The Temptation of Dr. Antonio. She played the role of a poster model in an Italian village. She was promoting the nutritional wonders of drinking pure milk, buvete piulaci, a connection that in my infant status I had not fully grasped the way adults do. In fact, the movie had a satirical message. Dr. Antonio Mazzuolo is a tireless Christian conservative campaigner for moral decency, forcing couples, as superior extremists invariably do, out of lovers' lane, demanding that women with revealing décolletage cover themselves, getting rid of girly magazines from newsstands, and so on and so forth to contraception and abortion and same-sex contortion. He's outraged when a giant billboard is erected in the open space opposite his apartment, which features Anita advertising milk in a provocative and revealing pose. He marshals every resource to combat any thrill-seeking activity, but he is defeated by his own obsession and the cruelty of the measures he would adopt. Again, it is the way with these aberrations of the psyche. Following them and reproductive health will soon be the chopping block, or hung from a gallows on the Capitol like the effigy of a fellow Christian traveler who refuses to be left alone with any female other than his wife, and is without vice. And along with all that will go the enlightenment of a democratic political philosophy. It is the pain of fear and frustration in others that excite these fanatics. As conservatives barrel towards November, their political mettle seems clothed in a punishing morality that has become increasingly boorish, and the ordinary human mind is as it were driven to distraction. I watched this satirical comedic movie that poked fun at the conservative extremists pledging to purge the planet of anything remotely risque. I contentedly assumed that this brand of temptation was typical for a lad of, say, 23 or 24, and therefore allowed myself to be seduced into the full spiritual pleasure of the movie. It intrigued me because it resuscitated the animal lusts of an infant before he has become aware of sin and evil. It is an unlikely take that devolves on narrow-mindedness and puritanical bigotry, which parades today under the guise of white Christian moral superiority, that is no different from the divinely inspired, so they say, religious warriors and the terrorists of the Inquisition that drove people to seek freedom and a better life in the new world of America. Or so we have been led to believe. First, infant milk became my first love. And that's not surprising, as it says on the label that Cow and Gate was made for royal babies. And I was from a regal tribe, the Royal Kingdom of Benin in Central Africa.
Your baby's tummy. You know it's important for their contentment. And at Cowngate, we've been feeding little tummies for over 100 years.
Look inside your heart, look inside